Hello everyone! Today I'm going to be showing you a quick fun makeup look based on the Mean Girls movies and the 2000s trends. So I'll only be using products which were in vogue back then and which were available back then. So that means no primers, no liquid highlighters. It's just going to be a simple look that you can use for casual daytime going out. So I've already done my skincare. I've put on a vitamin C serum and I've used a simple moisturizer and also sunscreen, of course. I've also used eye cream under my eyes because I want to be using concealer today. And so I'll just head straight into the brows. I won't be doing much to my brows today because if you recall, it was all the time of the skinny brows. I'm not going to make my brows skinny, but I'll just leave them as is with no more filling. I'll just brush them through and leave them as is. I won't be using any eyeshadow primer today because at the time eyeshadow primers didn't really exist or weren't freely available in the market. So I'm just going to go in straight into my transition shade, and I'll be using a neutral shade, a neutral brown really, and then just placing it all over my lid as a base shade. Next, to get that dark smoky look which was common back then, I'll be using a dark brown shade in my crease. I don't want to make this too harsh because I still want to have this as a daytime look. So I'll just lightly place this all over my crease and blending it through. Just using a small crease brush for this. And making sure I'm diffusing all those harsh lines at the edges. Next, I'll use a dark green brown shade with a flat shader brush, and I'll just place it on the center of my lid. I'm using a dabbing motion here because I really want to press the pigment onto my eyelid. I'm taking some more and then again just placing it onto the lid. And like I said, this is going to be a really simple look because the trend of a lot of eyeshadow was not really back then. So I'm just using a clean blending brush to blend these two together and ensure it's all seamless. I know it looks a bit messy here, but that's why I'm doing my eyes first so that I can just sweep that away once I'm done. Next, I'll be taking a detail brush, a really small brush, and I'll be using that to highlight my inner corner and brow bone. And those days it was the lightest you could go, so I'm using the stark white one, just placing it subtly in the inner corners and also on the brow bone, just on the highest points of my brow. Now because these are such small places, I'll just use my finger to blend them in. I'm just dabbing it away. If you remember back then, it was all about the tight lining, so I'm just using a pencil liner on my waterline in the bottom lid. But I'm still careful not to take it into the inner corner because that would make my eyes look smaller. I'm using a cotton pad soaked in micellar water to just clean all this excess away. And then I'm curling my lashes because that was still a thing back then. And then adding lots of mascara. I don't think that's a trend that ever goes away. I'm coating the top of my lashes first, and then looking down and coating the roots of the lashes. And then just wiggling them through to get the whole lash. Next, I'll go in with the concealer. I'm trying this new Sephora concealer that I just recently got. I'll just place this in the areas of darkness. And again, at the time, beauty blenders weren't really popular, so I'm just using a regular makeup brush. This is a concealer brush by Zoeva to blend that concealer in. Okay, this concealer is definitely lighter than my skin, but I think once I use foundation, it might just balance out. I do like how it makes my under eyes so bright though. Next, I'll be using Sephora 10 Hour Foundation. Just put this on my hand and starting from the center of my face, just blending it outwards. Oh, this foundation is really wet and creamy. I only used one pump of it, but I still like how much coverage this is giving. This shade looks very different from the camera and in person. I think in person it looks a tad lighter than my actual shade, but on the camera it just looks great. Is it still a bit white? I'm not sure. I don't like how it's a bit too intense on the pores here, but nothing that can be corrected, that can't be corrected with a primer. I think I normally use a primer, but then again, in the 2000s, primer wasn't really a thing, or wasn't really a popular thing at least. So I haven't used a primer today, but the next time I'll use this foundation, I'll definitely use a primer and see how it goes. Okay, so moving on, I also want to do quite a bit of highlight because, again, that was the trend back then. So I'm using this cream highlighter from Benefit, and I don't want to overdo it still because it's still a daytime look, so I'm just again placing it in the high points of my cheekbones and then blending it through with the same foundation brush. Who can forget the big bold blush of the 2000s? I'm going to be using a dark pink, quite intensely, much more intense than I would normally use. I hope it doesn't look garish by today's standards. Going to be putting on some more blush because, again, pink ruled back then. Okay, I think now we're seeing the ultra pinky look on the skin. With that, I think I've completed all the cream things I want to put on my face. So I'm going to go ahead and powder my face to set it. Just using a translucent powder for this. I'm getting a light dusting all over my face. Next, I'll go ahead and use a ton of bronzer. So I'm just taking this on an angle brush and placing it on the contours of my cheeks. And on the jawline, and on the forehead, center of the forehead. I'm going in again because I want to intensify this. The nose, the chin. Bronze was really everywhere back then. Don't forget your neck and your collarbones. Lastly, and I think most importantly, who can forget lip gloss? Just going in with a ton of lip gloss Going in for a second coat as well, because 2000s. I'm hoping that your hair doesn't stick to it all day. Oh, I think that's it. This is my completed look of how I would be inspired by the 2000s Mean Girl style makeup. Lots of lip gloss, kind of smoky eye with the eyes defined, bronzed and highlighted but with no contouring. Thanks for watching. Hope to see you next time. Bye bye.